We have an interesting article today. I will agree with some of it. I will disagree with some of it. Then I will show you reasons why I agree with some of it. And then I will show you two scenarios for the issue at play, the issue in question. The issue in question is none other than Skyy Moore. In an article titled "One Obvious Kansas City Chiefs Trade Candidate Entering 2025 Training Camp," subtitled "Chiefs Receiver Skyy Moore is the team's top trade candidate entering 2025 training camp ahead of contract year," from Clutch Points by Jaron Kawada, we will get the following, but I want to automatically disagree with something. Skyy Moore is the team's top trade candidate. That, in my opinion, is false. The Kansas City Chiefs, entering the 2025 season, have all of the linemen in the world necessary to be able to trade Mike Caliendo, and I think they will. Mike Caliendo is a former UDFA offensive lineman, but he has a lot of experience, including getting the snot kicked out of him in the Super Bowl, but he was on the field for the Super Bowl. Brett Veach has traded UDFA offensive guards before, like Yasir Durant to the Patriots for a 7th-round pick that ended up becoming Jalen Watson, who might, in fact, be the Kansas City Chiefs' most valuable trade asset because he has proven himself in the NFL as a cornerback too, but they just signed a cornerback too, and they have drafted what looks to be a cornerback 3 or 4 this year, who has cornerback 2 potential in Noel Williams. But also at that same position from that same draft, Joshua Williams, a cornerback who would be more valuable, I believe, on the trade market than Skyy Moore. And finally, possibly, there's several people at the wide receiver position that could end up getting trade value for the Kansas City Chiefs, but there is also the fact that Elijah Mitchell, a very explosive running back formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, who has dealt with injury issues in the past, might be expendable to the Kansas City Chiefs after Brashad Smith was drafted. I plan on making a video lining out all of these things and trade scenarios, etc. I apologize. Work is really kicking my butt right now, and I am having to work all sorts of shifts that I should not be working, but still here. Once a day, sometimes twice. The article begins thusly. The Kansas City Chiefs have a lot to evaluate in 2025 training camp, specifically in their loaded wide receivers room. While former second-round pick Skyy Moore is now the Chiefs' longest tenured receiver, which is wild to think about, he has quickly gone from an intriguing young prospect to a trade candidate in just a few years. Skipping forward in the article, with wideout still a position of need, the Chiefs once again invested heavily at the position. Kansas City re-signed Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster before drafting Jalen Royals in the 4th round. They further signed top-end undrafted free agents Mac Delana and Elijah Badger and added former second-round talent Tyquan Thornton to the offseason roster. However, the team's biggest addition comes in the form of Rashee Rice's return. The budding third-year wideout was on his way to a career year and establishing himself as Mahomes' top target in 2024 before tearing his ACL in Week 4. Rice joins Brown as the Chiefs' 2 starting receivers who missed most of the previous season from injuries. Basically, the Kansas City Chiefs acquired, over last regular season, 3 high-end number 2 receivers in Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Jalen Royals. Given the bevy of changes, Moore's career hangs in the balance in his 4th season with the team. While a release is certainly possible, Moore is the Chiefs' top trade candidate entering their 2025 training camp. Skyy Moore is the Chiefs' top trade candidate. The Chiefs seemed to be done with Moore fairly early in the experiment, but practically confirmed that sentiment in the 2025 offseason. Drafting another wideout for the sixth consecutive season makes Moore significantly closer to the practice squad than the starting lineup. Kansas City is likely already viewing him as a cut candidate, but with just 1 year remaining on his deal, Veach could look to take another look at his market value. So another thing that I think Brett Veach has proven during his tenure as general manager is that he does not like to leave any skin on the bone, any meat on the bone. If there is any trade to be made, however diminutive the return might be, Brett Veach will make that trade rather than save face. So, Skyy Moore was a second-round pick. To be trading Skyy Moore for a seventh-round pick before his rookie contract is up would seem to slap Brett Veach in the face. It is a move that would be disgraceful, but instead of... Now, I don't say those things lightly. I say those things sort of in jest. To do this is to cause reputational harm for some reason. For some reason, the NFL and NFL media, etc., way cooler with it if you just go ahead and cut a player, rather than try to squeeze some form of compensation back for that player. Veach tried to trade Moore before, but he might have his best chance in 2025. I have no idea if that's true. Does anyone have any idea about what the author is talking about there? I had not heard that he actually made moves to try to trade Skyy Moore. Ahead of the final year of his rookie deal, Moore's expiring contract is more alluring than it was a year ago. Teams might be more willing to give him a shot as a low-risk target who would not cost more than a late-round pick. I don't think he would even cost a late-round pick. I'm going to be very honest. We're going to get into trade scenarios in a moment. To his credit, Moore continues to seek improvement and has not given up on his promising career. The Western Michigan alum reportedly showed up to OTAs with an impressive physique, having dedicated his early offseason to a strict weightlifting regimen. Moore's dedication to improving his frame certainly addresses one of his biggest weaknesses. How many of those bench presses were targeted on his hands? That's what I want to know. Make those hands stronger, Skyy. Moving forward in the article, Skyy Moore still has potential. He never worked out for the Chiefs, but Moore still has hope of turning his career around. As an undersized receiver, Moore does his best work in the slot, a position that Rice took over in 2024. Rice, who is simply a better pass catcher and athlete, forced Moore to take more snaps on the outside than he is traditionally comfortable with. On a different roster, Moore could still have value on any team that allows him to play his proper role. When Moore lined up in the slot, he averaged 2.11 yards of separation per target in 2023. We're going to see something interesting in a moment. That mark was the 11th best in the league. However, when he lines up on the outside, his efficiency falls off a cliff. Moore is simply too small and lacks the top-end speed to compete with elite cornerbacks. Moore is the third best slot receiver on the Chiefs, working down behind Rice and Smith-Schuster. Rice and Smith-Schuster, you don't want to consider Xavier Worthy a slot receiver, or you don't consider Xavier Worthy better than Skyy Moore. Either way, I'm confused. You don't want to consider, honestly, Hollywood Brown a slot receiver? That he's maybe a hybrid, but I would consider him a slot receiver. He could fall further down the depth chart if Dillon, whom the team liked in minicamp, has a strong preseason. There's no room for Moore in Kansas City's roster anymore, leading to his dramatically low snap share. Slot-needy teams like the New York Jets, Las Vegas Raiders, or New Orleans Saints could use Moore as a veteran backup realistically, Moore can still have be a valuable contributor for any team that does not have the slot depth that Kansas City has. Either way, Moore will likely not make the Chiefs' final roster in 2025 after training camp. Now, why do I agree that Skyy Moore could be a valuable trade piece? Well, Skyy Moore is an intriguing athlete. Not the greatest in the world, right? So we looked at this just a couple days ago. 5'9" is not a great height. 195 is a decent weight, and 15 reps on the bench press is pretty good for a wide receiver. He has a vertical leap of 34.5 inches, which I don't know how that is a 5.53 score out of 10 for wide receivers, to be quite honest, and a 10-foot 5-inch broad jump, which is decent. But he ran a 4.41 40-yard dash with a 2.51 20-yard split and a 1.46 10-yard split. However, he is not quite so quick as he is fast. His agility numbers are a 4.32 short shuttle, which scores 4.49 out of 10, and a 7.13 three-cone drill, which scores 3.8 out of 10. Skyy Moore was supposed to be, coming into the league, one of these guys that was shifty and quick rather than fast, but his fast numbers are pretty good. His quick numbers certainly are not. But again, that 1.46 10-yard split is a 9.96 score out of 10. Very impressive 10-yard split there. Now, we talked about the targets, the separation on targets in 2023. It's interesting because he only had 38 targets in 2023. Now, he had even fewer in 2022 and fewer yet through 6 games in 2024. He was on pace through 2024, had he not been injured. He was on pace to receive, what is that, probably 8 targets in the season of 2024, right? So 9 targets in 2024. Very was not on pace for a good season. We'll just say that. He had, by the way, on those 3 targets, or no, wait, hold on. I did that math wrong. So 6 and 6 is 12 and 6 is 18. He was on pace for 9 targets in 2024. On pace for 0 receptions in 2024. Now, here is the good news if you're trying to trade Skyy Moore. You figured out who he is. Okay? So you can sell that to another team. So imagine you have a pack of football cards that you're trying to sell. Well, I don't know what's in them. Why would I really be interested in that? But if you've already opened those football cards and you show me that there is a mid-level guy in there, whoever that might be, I don't know. I don't keep up with trading card stuff anymore these days. Then maybe I will buy that card off of your hands. If you were trying to sell me the pack, perhaps the mystery is too rich for me. Skyy Moore is going to get 30 to 40 targets. He's going to get 20 to 25 receptions. He's going to get 240 to 250 yards. He's going to get 11.4 to 11.6 yards per reception, and he's going to get you 13 touchdowns. This is basically mirror seasons back-to-back in 2022 and 2023. You can sell that. It's not the hype. It's not the mystery of what he might be, but you can sell that if you are Brett Veach. This is a guy who can produce at this level. Don't you need a 6th wide receiver? Don't you need a 5th wide receiver? So what are we looking at? Should we trade Skyy Moore? Well, just last year, the Steelers traded for Mike Williams from the Jets. Now, Mike Williams has certainly done a lot more than has Skyy Moore through his time in the NFL, but Mike Williams is definitely on the downside of his career. The Steelers traded a 5th-round pick in order to receive Mike Williams from the Jets. I think that is very rich for Skyy Moore. I don't think he brings in anything like that. However, I do think there is a trade that kind of matches what we're looking at. The Cowboys traded the Panthers for Jonathan Mingo. The Panthers traded Jonathan Mingo and a 7th-round pick to move up and have a 4th-round pick. I do think that is too rich for Skyy Moore as well, but the Chiefs could, I think, trade a 7th-round pick and Skyy Moore for a 6th-round or a 5th-round pick. This is what Jonathan Mingo had done in the NFL to the point where he was traded. He had 85 targets, 43 receptions as a rookie with 418 yards, no touchdowns, 15 first downs, and then through his first 9 games with the Panthers last year in his sophomore campaign, he had just 12 receptions on 26 targets for 121 yards and 4 touchdowns. This is a trade that I think the Chiefs should look to emulate if they are able to move on from Skyy Moore. Skyy Moore and a 7th-round pick for a 5th. Skyy Moore and a 7th-round pick for a 6th. These are interesting ways to move up in the NFL draft, and Brett Veach has shown that he has the gumption to act in those manners. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We are over 2 years now of daily consecutive uploads, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.